So, I play video games. Shocker, right? And typically, I normally don't just stick to one game, I have quite a few in my rotation at once. So I thought it'd be fun to just go over and give my thoughts over some of the games I played throughout this month. Am I gonna do this every month and make it a series? I don't know. But I'm just gonna get straight into the games I played, starting with Devil May Cry 1. The main reason I wanted to try out the Devil May Cry franchise is because the first game was originally a very early version of Resident Evil 4, one of my favourite games of all time. So I was very intrigued to see how similar they would be. You can definitely tell in parts of this game that this was originally Resident Evil 4. Stuff like the first half of the game taking place in a castle. Fun fact, by the way, you can actually hear Serenity playing very faintly in the castle, which I think is really cool. As well as Dante's face looking very, very similar to Leon's face in Resident Evil 4. The game was just alright in my opinion. Parts of it were pretty good, like the combat, yeah, it was clunky, but it was pretty good overall. The enemy designs and overall just the art direction was very good, but the whole experience just gets dragged down by the boss fights. Like, I can't even sugarcoat it. The boss fights in this game, like 90% of them are just horrible. There's a few alright ones, like the Shadow Lion and Nilo. Those boss fights are fine, they're solid, they're fun, but everything else is just horrible. And it does not help, you have to fight every single boss in this game like 3 different times. Especially that horrible demon slug thing. What's his name? I think it's like Nightmare or something. Actually one of the worst boss fights I've ever had to do. It's like, it's not even that it's super hard or anything, because it's not. It's just so time consuming. You have to like awkwardly jump around and dodge its like lasers and weird attacks and wait for like this little orb thing to come up, and then the orb thing's only there for like 10 seconds, but it has so much health that in those 10 seconds you can barely do any damage, and you have to just repeat that process like for nearly 10 minutes, and you have to do that boss fight 3 times. It's generally horrible. I also wasn't a fan of the yellow orb system. Later in the game it's not really a problem because you can just buy a bunch of them and not have to worry about that. But at the start of the game, when you're not really used to the combat and are dying quite a lot, and then you have to restart a whole mission because you don't have any yellow orbs, which is very, very tedious. It's a solid game, but I don't think I'll ever replay it, just based on that if I did, I'd have to fight Nightmare 3 more times, which I would never want to put myself through that again. The next game I'm going to talk about is Resident Evil 9. But not the main campaign itself, but the DLC that came out this month. After Resident Evil 9 was released, they announced that there was going to be a DLC coming in May. And I, like many other people, expected it to be Mercenaries. And it in fact did not end up being Mercenaries, but a roguelike side mode. I don't know if I'd call it bad, because the gameplay in Resident Evil 9 is just very good, but it's just repeat encounters from the main story with a perk system slapped on top of it. I can't hate too much, because it was a free DLC at the end of the day, but I'm just left feeling disappointed because I was hoping for something actually fresh. Next up is Pragmata. The game itself is great. I think the gameplay is really fun and unique, the characters are really interesting, the story's not perfect, but still pretty good. But I'm not really going to talk about the main game itself, and more about the game mode I played on this game during May, which is called Lunatic Mode. Lunatic difficulty is the hardest difficulty on Pragmata, and it's not fun, like, at all. It's not like I hated the difficulty just because it was hard. Hard difficulties on games can be fun, like when they change up boss patterns, change enemy spawns, and just overall change how you play the game. The problem is, Lunatic difficulty does none of that. It's the exact same game and experience, just with enemies with triple the health, and they do way more damage. The game doesn't even let you do New Game Plus on this mode, which is a shame because I actually wanted to try out my maxed out weapons and stuff, but no, you don't even get like an easier way out for this mode. It's not absurdly hard or anything, most of it was pretty straightforward, but there was this one boss fight against the scorpion robot thing, I think it's called the Garden Keeper or something, which was horrible. It has so much health, not even exaggerating here, it took 15 minutes to take down. It's not even like the slug I was talking about with Devil May Cry where, yeah, it has a bunch of health, but it's not too hard, because this thing does so much damage and it wipes like half your health with one hit. It is a horrible, horrible boss fight. It took me like 2 or 3 hours to do. I'd never want to play Lunatic difficulty again. Yes, I ended up beating the entire game on Lunatic. No, I didn't have any fun, but hey, at least I got the 100%. The next game I'm going to talk about is Resident Evil Revelations 2. The first Revelations game might be the most mediocre game I've ever played. It's like just the biggest nothing burger ever. Thankfully, Resident Evil Revelations 2 is much better. The combat and gameplay was very fun, I love being able to kick people and do follow-up attacks again. It was also great seeing classic characters like Claire and Barry return. Actually, the last time we've seen both these characters, not including the RE2 remake. Capcom, please let people who aren't Leon and Chris return in mainline entries again. Please. The story was a bit strange. I don't know why Wesker's sister was beefing with a literal 8-year-old. It was pretty weird, but even then, I thought the story was still pretty good. If I had to think of some complaints, it would probably be that Barry's sections are way too similar to Claire's. It definitely would have been nice to see more variety in Barry's sections. Also, Moira surviving is just like plain stupidity. It's just like, who wrote that? That was not survivable. She had like 10 rocks land on her. Probably had some kind of brain trauma because one of them landed directly on her skull. She was like 100 feet above ground level, and then 10 seconds later you see the tower she's in just explode. Like, you just don't survive something like that, it's not possible. And then you see her like 30 minutes later, she's like, I'm still alive and I have a gun. Like, why are you still here? You're supposed to be dead. It's actually worse than Parker's fake death in Resident Evil Revelations 1, because in that one, it's stupid he survives that as well, because you see him fall into like a pit of flames. But then at least you could make the argument, like, maybe, like, under it, there was something he could... I'm not even going to try and justify that either. Both the fake-out deaths in the Resident Evil Revelation games are stupid. Please, these characters should just die. No one even cares about them. They're, like, the most forgettable characters ever. Why are we making them live? Sorry, I kind of went on a bit of a tangent there, but I'm going to go back to actually talk about the game now. I haven't played Raid Mode yet, which I've heard very, very good things about, so I could end up liking this game more after I've played that, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't voice my opinion on it. But yeah, this is a very, very solid game, and I would definitely recommend it to someone who's played a lot of the Resident Evils and is looking for some more Resident Evil stuff to play. The final game I'm going to talk about is Forza Horizon 6. I'd say I'm a pretty avid Forza Horizon fan. Prior to this game's release, I had played all 5 Forza Horizon games, and I was very excited for this game. Did it meet my expectations? Not quite. I thought it would be a bit better. It's not like I'm disappointed or anything. It delivered on the majority of the things I wanted it to. First thing I'm going to talk about is the map. Japan is the location people have wanted in Forza Horizon the most, and I think they did a pretty good job with it. Tokyo City is great. Driving through it is really fun, and it's definitely the best main city in any of the Forza Horizon games. The Japanese countryside is really nice. The Snowy Mountains area is really cool. I do think there's a few sections of the map which are a bit too empty for my liking. Apart from that, they did a really good job with the map. I'm not going to go too much into the gameplay. You kind of know what you're going to get with a Forza Horizon game. The racing's fun, exploring the map's fun. Although I will say, something does feel a bit off about the driving. I can't really put my finger on it, but there's just something about the driving that feels kind of just weird. Not like it's bad or anything, the driving still feels very clean, but there's just something a bit off about it. Graphically, it's also incredible. There are certain points where the game gets scarily close to photorealism. I will say, the AI in this game are a bit weird. You've probably seen some posts about Bowie Knife 99, and yeah, the driving tiles in this game do just tweak out a bit. I don't really like it's a con or anything, because it is a bit entertaining, but it is pretty weird how they just... I don't know what they did to make them like this, but just something I figured I'd point out. Like I said earlier, this game didn't fully deliver to my expectations, and there are a few reasons why, which I'm going to go into now. The first thing is optimization. Overall, it's a very well optimized game, unless you have an AMD GPU, which I do. The problem's mostly been fixed now, but for the first week or so of this game, if you're on an AMD GPU, you would just stutter like crazy, and it definitely put a bit of a taint on my first few days with this game. The second thing I want to talk about is the progression. A big issue in Forza Horizon 5 is the progression wasn't very good. They would throw supercars and super wheel spins at you every 5 seconds. And I was hoping with Forza Horizon 6, the way they advertised as you being a tourist and starting at the very bottom, that would be different in this game. Maybe a hot take, but I think the progression in this game might actually be worse. The game throws supercars and wheel spins at you constantly, which does just ruin the progression of the game, which is something that disappointed me. My final big complaint would be that the story missions in this game suck. The story missions in the Forza games have never been anyone's favourite thing, but in this game they are especially bad. Half of them you drive very slowly admiring the environments. Yes, Forza, the game looks incredible, but I don't need to spend 5 minutes slowly driving look at it while May yaps about absolutely nothing. There's also just so many of these missions in this game, way more than in any of the others, it's absurd. Even with these criticisms, I still think Forza Horizon 6 is fantastic. Is it the best in the franchise? Probably not. 3 is still the GOAT. But it's probably second best. Okay, that was all the games I played this month. If I were to rank them from worst to best, it would probably go 4th, Devil May Cry, 3rd, Resident Evil Revelations 2, 2nd, Pragmata, and 1st, Forza Horizon 6. I'm not including Resident Evil 9 because I only played the DLC, and it's unfair to compare the DLC to main games here, but if I was accounting for the main game, it would be first. Anyway, that was the video. Thank you for watching.